Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of Van Helsing. A very good episode, a very finale. It's kind of interesting because, it's kind of a big scale season finale, but at the same time being small. In comparison to season one's finale, it was kind of like multiple directions that season one's finale I feel like kind of took, following different kind of stories. And this one, it's all one story from two different perspectives in a sense. You get what I'm trying to say, because it all took place in a cave. Because it's kind of interesting because the only other episode I can think of this season that was really, there's been two episodes designed like that. There's the Muhammad and Sam episode. Then there's this episode with Vanessa at Black Tech. They're very isolated episodes, not cutting away to any other side story. So it's just kind of interesting to me. And a lot of stuff was kind of left open-ended, but I'll kind of get to that soon enough. Obviously, we're going to break down this story. Obviously, there was a debate whether or not the lady that was with Scarlet really was Abigail or not. And it seems like this is all connected to essentially Dracula. They refer to him as the Dark One. That basically this is all about him in particular. Because it seems because I was kind of under the impression maybe this was the last elder. Well, the fact of the matter is Dimitri kind of referenced in season one there being more, but I don't know, this elder's been the main focus. But maybe I brought it up in the past. Maybe I said it at some point in this season, wondering where the rest of the elders are. If I didn't at this point in time, begs the big question, well, where the hell are the other elders in? Are they just out and about? Because this particular elder was sealed away by the Van Helsing because he ended up getting captured. I mean, the reason why they captured him is because they didn't really have a way to actually kill him. Because it does seem like the whole Van Helsing thing is no, it is 100% just definitely Scarlet and Vanessa that are the outliers. Van Helsings don't have that superhuman strength. Yes, it might run in their DNA to be very skilled fighters because her mom can handle herself. Abigail handled herself pretty good in that fight with her and Scarlet were fighting Scab and the lady from the Sisterhood. So she can handle her own. And even when she got stabbed, she still kept on fighting hard. She still kept on going. So, but then again, that could be a combination of, much like Scarlet, she probably went through training and stuff like that. But still, because I was wondering if they were going to go into that at all, the beginning of Vampires. It seems like that's where this is. That's where this direction is heading with this. That even above the elders, it's not like the elders were the first. The elders are just the oldest ones that are still around. Apparently, the Dark One, Dracula, to the point no one actually speaks his name because even Scarlet, no, you're BSing me. There's no way. Oh, he's actually real. It's everything Abigail knows is only stuff she's heard passed down from story to story. Even she's not well versed in the whole Van Helsing situation because it seems she probably never really, either the Van Helsing's just knowledge has dwindled as years have gone by, which does beg the question, does that mean Abigail never had that book that Vanessa found at Black Tech? I'm curious about that. We saw a little look at that, but I mean, maybe that'd be something we kind of see more going forward, but we would have to wait and see. But it's just kind of interesting to me that Abigail wouldn't know everything. So maybe the people who taught her, which her family is well versed in it. It's kind of interesting because Abigail had that upbringing, but apparently her mother was killed by an elder. So I would assume that applies to the rest of her family too. I guess they are the last bloodline. They are the last Van Helsing bloodline. Just those three. Well, two. Spoilers, since I'm already talking around everything else anyway. But her dying in the end, wasn't expecting that. That really sucks. It's you find your mom after all this time, she dies, because it's you need a sacrifice has to be made to open the crypt. I also appreciate the kind of interesting aspect of crawl, how that whole cavern kind of worked. I'm curious, was that some enchantment that the Van Helsing's put on it? I don't, maybe she brought it up. I don't remember her really explaining. She was saying it'd make you hallucinate, but was that from them putting some enchantments on the cave or something? How does that, it's just kind of it just does that. Is it just naturally like that? Maybe it's some old school enchantments that old school, way, way, way back in the day, early Van Helsings did something like that with magic. Makes you wonder, is magic even a thing for the Van Helsings? I mean, especially with everything that's going on with vampirism and everything, you would think, this being, like I said, this show does that interesting thing of blending kind of fantasy and science fiction, because obviously vampirism in this case is very fantasy based. There is some mysticism to it, maybe not directly magic like Vampire Diaries, whereas vampirism is literally directly connected to magic. is in the shape or form, a form of magic. But, maybe it has some connection like that. But the show also has that like science fictional angle of like, oh, like vampirism is treating it like a virus, and that, oh, there's actually a cure for it. You see what I mean? So, but that same thing could be applied to the fantasy angle too. Could be like, well, it's a cure for a curse. There's that. But it is kind of interesting why I'm curious why only specific people solve specific things. Like, we learned about Scab's past a little bit. The fact of the matter is, like, he used to just be a dude named Scott. But, like I say, it's little bits and pieces. I don't think you can really make much heads or tails of it. Especially the sisterhood lady. Like, I don't know. It seemed like her dad was punishing her. It's like, oh, you need to serve the Lord. You need to join the sisterhood. So does that mean, is that supposed to reference the fact is, like, I'm curious, like, what that's supposed to represent. And also, like, the fact that she had that, I guess, was oil on her face. And I guess they were going to light her face on fire or something. Like, so maybe she got severely burned. It's kind of, maybe that's another reason why she wears all that face paint, is to cover up the fact is that her face is so badly burned that, I mean, when you become a vampire, like, stuff like that heals anyway. So, but maybe that's what that's supposed to represent, like her old face that kind of got burned away. Maybe that's what that's supposed to, well, no, because there's the whole sisterhood aspect of like everyone else wears that too. So I don't know. Like I said, just kind of out of context stuff of like, I'm not 100% sure. I guess it's supposed to be the comparison of like, oh, she was supposed to join this religious sisterhood to serve the Lord, which sounds super sketchy the way that sounds like that. And especially the whole situation she was put into. So obviously, that's like some old school religion crap, whatever that was she was part of. So maybe that kind of inspired her to join a different sisterhood in this particular case. We still don't really know how she became a vampire or what, but I don't know. Dimitri had his whole little look into the past, which then kind of reveals that the fact is that him and that elder have a connection. Wasn't expecting that, because the person we were seeing in those visions was actually the elder. His name is, God, I actually forgot his name. It was something with a D. I'm totally blanking on it now. But it seems like it was that same dude, but there was that thing about him being in chains, and it seemed like it was kind of a thing between them. It's like, oh, you're my favorite. So I think it was kind of like a relationship situation that they had. But then like someone creeped up behind him and he was screaming out in pain. I don't know what that was supposed to represent. Was that supposed to be like Dimitri was human, and in that moment he became a vampire? But then like, he was referencing like Dimitri to turn his sister, but Dimitri was like, oh, her innocence is still there. So I don't know what that's supposed to represent. He's like, oh, but this is my pastor. And then the screams came from Dimitri. I don't know. Like I said, a lot of it's super out of context. But the question is, I was bringing up earlier, is like, why did they have such negative things? Whereas like Scarlett and Abigail, they weren't that bad. They were kind of trips down memory lane. Which also brought up something interesting to me too, is like it does seem like they had abilities when they were younger, because like Harrison is there, and then either Vanessa or Scarlett pushed him back with one hand. So it's like they had the abilities. So is it like a situation of like, unless it fully activates, when they were younger, it maybe had a tendency to kind of like wane in its activation? Or does that mean like it has a tendency to come and go? Or, did someone seal it away from them? Like, how did that whole thing happen? Because Vanessa, like I said, she had her whole aggression aspect, but, the moment she died. So, not less because it had been such a long time that the power had activated, in such a long time that it was kind of in hibernation. And then when she died, it kind of kicked in. I don't know. Also, at the same time, it's like, we couldn't really tell from the fight, but is Scarlett's ability still activated? Because at no point in time during the fight did she actually try and bite Scab or that sisterhood lady. So maybe it's a situation of like, what Vanessa did to her was only temporary, and maybe certain, like, maybe there are circumstances to it, conditions, like only like Scarlett's is activated by her getting bit, because at no point in time did she ever bite them. Once again, it just seems like that's just Vanessa's thing, because Scarlett's done it one time so far since like, Vanessa bit her. So once again, I'm trying to understand that whole power thing. They're being super vague about it. Like, it's kind of leave it up to your own imagination type of thing. I don't know if that's anything they'll ever really break down and get too in depth about. So it just, I don't know. It's just something I couldn't help but think about. But it does seem like legitimately she did leave Scarlett and Vanessa behind because she knew Harrison was going to try and do something to him. Apparently she talks about the fact is that she had to basically keep dodging Harrison, had to try and avoid him tracking her down. The question is, like, how does she end up at, Crooked Falls out of anywhere? Like, how did that, is that just, fate, her and Scarlett running into each other like that? Because the thing she had pointed out too was something I brought up before too. It's like, oh yeah, what, would your mom not know about you not dying, like that you dying in a fire was fake, because it turns out they were supposed to stay together. Like Vanessa and Scarlett were supposed to be together. Like, even if their mom wasn't around, at the very least, she was like, I could take solace in knowing that you two were together. But for whatever reason, they faked Scarlett's death, and Vanessa ended up in foster care, like, for such a long time. And it's like, and even she brought up the question, like, even Abigail was like, I don't know why that happened. That was not what I wanted. So was that on Scarlett's parent side of things, where it's like they felt like they couldn't protect two kids? It'd be too much. You know, maybe they felt like maybe they wanted to give Vanessa a chance at normalcy, which seems like that doesn't matter, because that still circles back around, and it's like, oh, we're still in the same situation anyway. So I don't know. Because I'm surprised too, because it seems like obviously there's a lot more Abigail didn't get to tell Scarlett, and I was expecting, like, because even Scarlett's, oh, is this, like I said, it was more positive stuff kind of defending her. So maybe Abigail kind of manipulated it and played it a little bit more. Like, maybe she knows that if you want something to pop up to reveal itself in a hallucination, you kind of focus like that at the forefront of your mind or something. Because it's like, I don't know, because it's like, why are these specific things at the top and not nothing else? Like, there's got to be more to that, but at this point in time, sadly, we'll never know. It was kind of interesting that Scarlett was trying to feed her blood. That's not really come up as a, oh man, that's a cure-all for someone. I was wondering, would it do something, considering she is a Van Helsing? But it's like, at the same time, it's one of that situation of like, well, it doesn't matter if their blood enters your system unless you're a vampire. Still wondering how that whole situation breaks down. We end up finding out from the Elder, which he immediately submits to Scarlett, which was kind of interesting. I was like, whoa, what's up with this? It's like, oh, we have to serve the Van Helsings. It's kind of what he's kind of bound to do. I thought, it was like, oh, is it just because of Van Helsing blood? It's like, no, I think it's specifically because they have the Dark One's blood in their system, which then begs the question, because before I was like, oh, the Elder, he's got to be their dad or something. It's like, no, apparently the Elder's not their dad. Apparently their dad is Dracula, if not like a descendant of Dracula, which, I mean, arguably every vampire is a descendant of Dracula, but maybe he has like more direct descent, because that's the question, like, how can your dad be Dracula? Because it's like, did he awaken and he gets sealed again? That doesn't seem right. And not unless that is the case. So that, I mean, because the thing is, what keeps going in my mind to make me think that's got to be the case, like, because even Scarlett's like, oh yeah, the reason why me and Vanessa are like this is because you exposed us to that, like, that vial of blood that's connected to Dawn. She's like, no, I didn't expose you to it. So it's like, okay then, so either she's like, my reference, me beforehand was like, okay, yeah, like I always attributed it to, it's like, no, your dad, he was something else. Once again, something Dimitri brought up in season 1 is like, oh, the moment she found out the truth about your dad. So once again, either he's Dracula himself, or he's like a close descendant, like maybe he's one of the first people Dracula ever turned. Like, we still don't know the hierarchy in that situation, because even Dimitri's kind of like bottom of the barrel when it comes to things, because obviously, like, he's even as quote unquote as powerful as special that he is, which, let's not forget, he got his mess pushed in at the beginning by that Oracle, who immediately slaughtered everyone else. It's like, oh yeah, you know, only 3 of you can go. The fact of the matter is, like, the rest should stay here. You know, you should hurry and go, or else. And it's like, or else what? And then she immediately slaughters him, which I'm curious what that was about, because she's drinking the blood and she's laughing. Hopefully we get to see more of her, because I'm trying to figure that whole situation out. Because let's not forget, Scab and the Sisterhood lady got away. So they're still to be dealt with. Because I brought it up earlier too. It's like, this episode only focused on the cave. We don't know nothing about Muhammad and Sam's situation. We don't know anything about Axel's situation. Axel or Doc or Julius. Only things we're left with that, it is, oh yeah, remember last episode, Phil and Lucky died, so there's that. But yeah, that's kind of interesting to me. But the Elder's like, I will serve you, because basically he's bound by, essentially it's almost like a curse, but he's bound by loyalty. That the fact is, he will serve them until the Dark One rises or dies. I figured that might not be that big of a deal. I didn't think he would care that much. That's prior to figuring out, oh, because Dimitri was important to you. And then just like, I was like the way he started peeling his head, I was like, what's happening here? Basically ripped his face / head to pieces bit by bit. It's like, wow, Dimitri, you got it brutal. Like, let's not forget, he kind of got out kind of hard in season 1 too, because like Vanessa like stuck her entire arm through his chest. But yeah, there ain't no coming back from this. Don't have your sister around, so it's kind of interesting, because all our intro main antagonists, like most of them died in the beginning of this season, and then like now it's like the final last remaining person from season one, the main antagonist wise, died too. So that's kind of interesting to me. Well, Sam's still around, but he's not main antagonist level. At least I don't think. I'm not treating him as such. Especially, I'm curious to see what happens with him with the whole Muhammad situation as it is now. But like I said, we'll kind of get to that soon enough. But Scarlet orders him to go find Vanessa, and because even Abigail's like, I thought you said you couldn't sense her. And it's like, I feel something every once in a while. And even the elder couldn't sense her. So it's both, I'm sure, like, it's not just the Van Helsing connection or them being sisters. They're twins, aren't they? Yeah, they're twins. It's specifically the fact is that they both had the Dark One's blood in them. So the moment she like cut herself and then stabbed the elder, he could feel where Vanessa was not expecting that ending to be the way it is. Literally slaughtered everyone in Black Tech, which is like, holy crap. Because the fact of the matter is, it's like, yeah, the elder was sealed away because it was like kind of hard to kill him. So, but I guess because Vanessa and Scarlet had the Dark One's blood, which is also something I was meaning to bring up earlier too, is like, is that how they're able to cure people too? It's like, does the Dark One have, because as when the episode ended, they cut to a preview of Vanessa being like, I can turn people back, I can't make vampires. And it's like, is that supposed to hint the fact is that after everything that happens at the end, she can, that basically the elder bites her and she wakes up and her eyes turn red. So is that supposed to represent like he mutated what was already a mutation within her or something? Like, what is that supposed to mean? Does that mean she can make vampires now? Like, it does that mean when we get back to Vanessa, will she still be Vanessa? Because that was something I was wondering too, because it seems like the type of situation where it's like sisters will be divided. Like, they will be on two sides of this war. Like, that's kind of like my thought. I was thinking like ultimately it would come down to Vanessa versus Scarlet, just in some twisted thing. It's usually how this type of thing it goes down, like siblings like having to face off against each other. It's typical how those stories go, so that's why I kind of assumed, but I mean, we really would have to wait and see. Like, it's overall good season finale. I'm very eager to see what they do with all of this going forward in season 3, because the show has been confirmed for a third season coming out sometime this year in 2018. I'd assume kind of roughly around the same time season 2 starts. So maybe October-ish, maybe a little early-ish. We'll just have to wait and see. But like I said, I have a lot of questions going into this next season. There's no way Harrison's dead. That douchebag with the whole like trying to get longevity situation. I don't know. Also, the whole Vanessa situation being the way it is. I guess because she healed up and they had her on the table, so they must have been fiddling with her, like cutting her open to because the whole point was as to why Abigail didn't want them to stay there, like at the farm or whatever, because it's like, no, because they would have used you as an experiment. So they must have figured out the fact is, because like Vanessa potentially got shot in the head. It's kind of the way like that shot seemed like it went down, but maybe that's not the case. But it didn't seem like she had any bullet wounds. But to be fair, the one bullet wound we were aware of was a little bit lower than what we saw of her. It was lower, like near her stomach. So, and like I said, I assumed the last bullet was a headshot, but maybe it wasn't, because it seemed like it was higher than the gun was like higher aim, so I would assume that is at her head, but we didn't see a bullet wound in her head. So either it healed and they're like, oh, and fascinating, we could still use her as an experiment. Because it's kind of interesting because they got the elder released like they wanted to. Sadly, it just ended with the mom dying. The lady who pretended to be her mom, I doubt she's dead. I kind of get the feeling like she might still be alive too. I don't know. Like I said, they might all be dead too. Like I said, that might be an instant. Like I brought up earlier, like you had Rebecca like literally dying in like the season premiere, because it's like, holy crap, I thought you and Dimitri and his Anastasia would be around like the entire time, but it's like, no, those two were immediately dispatched like early parts of the season. So I don't know. There's still some part of me, I know it's long, I should just let it go, but there's some part of me that's still hoping something can happen with that Dylan situation. I don't know how you come back from that, but it's super unfair that she lost her daughter in that way. It's like, why that was an interesting story choice. That's like the most effed up way you can handle it. It's like, oh, she finally got Dylan back after trying to find her in season 1, finally found her at the end of season 1, after the situation in season 2. It's like, oh, I got her back, she's a vampire, but now I cured her yet, and then she dies like that. That's like brutal. Like I said, this season's been like season's like season 1, because season 1 was big about slowly killing off like everyone inside of the hospital, and now you've kind of slowly been killing off the team that's there, adding and subtracting to it, so I don't know. Like I said, I'm very interested to see where this all goes going forward, especially with Scarlet having like the elder underneath her belt. I mean, I'm sure the same thing applies to Vanessa too. So it's like, also like the fact is he bit her too. I just thought about that. Also, would that work? I just thought about that. That's never been showcased in the show. If they put their blood on a weapon and they stab a vampire, is that the same thing? Once again, like I'm curious about, like, they keep it super vague about how that whole situation works. Because like that was the first time that's ever happened when they've used their own blood as a weapon against a vampire like that, where she stabbed him. So obviously they're too old and too powerful to be like reversed. Which does beg the question, like, could Dimitri have been reversed, or was he too old to be reversed? Like, we haven't seen it happen to, like, the oldest vampire that's been turned back was Julius, so. But maybe, like, the mutation that's in them, like, because the elders are on such a high level that the little bit of, well, like I say, can assume it's Dracula's blood, the dark one. I do appreciate that kind of Voldemort-esque thing of, like, we dare not speak his name. That maybe that's just not on the same, it's not potent enough to topple an elder. Because as we know, like, it's going back and forth where it hasn't been used in a sense, like, because I've referenced, I think, last episode or recently in an episode where I talked about the fact is that it kills certain type of vampires. It cures others, but kills others, but that hasn't been showcased since season 1. And there's also those vampires that were in the lower levels that kind of poisoned Vanessa in season 1. Haven't seen hide nor hair of them. So is that something that would come back in season 3 or not? So many questions. Like I said, I'm sure I'm severely overthinking this because they're probably not going to bother going too crazy about it. But now that the elder's away, I am curious to see what this means going forward with, Vanessa and all those she's turned back. Like I said, there's that connection. It was all leading to the, elder, but like, will that mean anything going forward, that connection? I mean, obviously they can never be turned back into vampires again, sure, but like beyond that, will there be anything else? Because it seems like each season they're building upon that more and more with like how, like, there being something special about that. So maybe in season 3 they'll be like, oh yeah, there's actually another layer to this that no one knows. To me, I wanted to wait for the moment of her being like how they're commanding the elder. I would think like something like that for like she can summon up her army at any time, like how they would always know where she was, to get a sense of where she was because they're connected. But I don't know, like I said, not unless they do something like about that next season. So I would assume that the next season would, like, obviously they dealt with their mom a little bit. Maybe in season 3 we'll get a little bit more of a look into their past, into her mom's past in particular. I feel like at this point in time, the only person that's left that knows anything, because Dimitri was like the last one, maybe Harrison. It's not definitely Harrison. He's like the only one that has any clues about their past. So there's no way he's dead. Not unless there's other facilities. There's stuff that, I'm curious about in that regard as well. So like I said earlier too, the whole Muhammad situation. Because the thing is, like, Sam's probably going to want Muhammad to say a vampire. So he's definitely not going, he's going to try his best to avoid him being around Vanessa. Which, the interesting thing is, though, Sam doesn't know about Scarlet, nor does Muhammad, so that won't help them, so that would be a surprise there. Which still, once again, does she have that ability or not, Like I said, it just hasn't been showcased, so I'm really, like I said, it's still being vague about that. It seems like once it's activated, it's permanently activated, but she hasn't really gone out of her way to really show it off. Like, it didn't seem like she was hurt at the end, so it seemed like maybe her wounds healed, but maybe just like the whole biting thing is just like, I don't know, maybe she hasn't been awakened long enough for it to matter. I mean, hell, like Vanessa, the moment she woke up, she tore into some vampires. That's how Phil got turned back into human, so I don't know. I think I forgot to kind of conclude on that earlier. I brought it up earlier, the whole knife situation. But my point was the fact is he bit Vanessa, and I was like, wouldn't he be worried about turning back human? That's where, like, because I completely forgot to, like, connect that to what I was talking about. This has been all over the place. I do apologize. My brain's a little rat. I can't talk either, so that's another thing. So, like I said, I am very interested to see what they do with the 3rd season. Like I said, I'm actually surprised that legitimately they did not cut to any other storyline. Because even like season 2's ending was like, season 1's ending was like, oh yeah, and Axel's a vampire, So I don't know. Maybe I'm not remembering season 1 as, like, I remember like season 1's finale was very focused too, so this one was as well. So honestly, just not the ending I was expecting, especially with the whole like being able to control the elder. So that's definitely going to be something interesting going forward. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. I'm sure the next season will also be about the other elders because them reuniting is what's going to lead to Dracula awakening. I wonder is it going to be a sacrifice situation where it's like you need the blood of all. I'm going to guess a random number, 7 or 13, just because 13 seems like the good organization number and not just because of the organization 13 from Kingdom Hearts. But that's kind of a leading number in my head because of that whole situation. But other organizations, like there's Black Cat, the Kronos organization from the anime slash manga series Black Cat, that has 13 as well. That or 7, but I'm leaning more towards 13, but it's probably more like a lower number, like 7 or 8 probably. But, once again, we would just have to wait and see. Like, these are just all my random thoughts. Like, I'm very interested to see if any of that, like, applies in the next season or not. Also, final note, I meant to just end this. I keep thinking more and more, and I feel like adding it on. Like, what does this mean for the vampires going forward? Because the vampires are kind of leaderless. I mean, to be fair, I guess this means now that Dimitri's dead, like, Scab's going to step up. He already kind of runs the Sisterhood, so who's to say he won't run, like, the rest of the vampires? I guess. I mean, we really haven't, like I said, the story has still also been very contained. It hasn't gone international yet. So we've never seen, like, the world. Maybe that's something we'll see in season 3 as well, like the conditions of the world, like vampirism, because that was kind of a question brought up this season 2. It's like, there's no way the rest of the world is like that, right? So we'll see. But yeah, that's it. I'm finally going to stop talking now. I'm done this time for sure. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.